I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur, speaking to you from Melbourne, Australia on Australia Day weekend. Australia Day happens to be on the 26th of January each year. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or on Rumble or via one of the many podcast platforms. Our format for the show is that I share this week's big idea. I share 6 resources to help you implement the big idea. I review some key happenings over the past week. And then for newer viewers and listeners, the last part of the show comprises further background about me and the foundational principles for this show. So let's go with today's big idea. A key piece of evidence of the level of your self-awareness, of the depth of your self-awareness, is whether you truly know what your favourite things are. And this show is all about deepening your level of self-awareness. Do you truly know what your favourite things are? If not, then I urge you to restart your search for these things. This search would have started in your childhood days, but may have been interrupted by your studies, by marriage, by having 5 children like me, illness, or some other major dramas. As the great song from the wonderful film Sound of Music says in My Favourite Things, when I remember my favourite things, then I don't feel so bad. Excuse the bad singing. When I remember my favourite things, then I don't feel so bad. So what are those favourite things, and what brings you pleasure in trying times? If you're having a tough time, shift your focus. Don't focus on what's bad, focus on your favourite things. Let me share 5 of my favourite things. Books. I have a big library. I struggle to understand why people have homes that have no books in them. I visit many homes where I will be sitting down, there's no books to be seen. It's staggering. Come to my home, and there's books everywhere. My dad had books everywhere. And then, depending on my mood, that will depend upon which book I might pull out. One such book might be the books by Scott Adams on Dilbert. Second, cycling or swimming or running. I've been competing in triathlons for over 35 years. If I'm feeling shitty, I can go cycling. Go cycling for 1 hour, everything changes. Number 3, comedy shows. All I have to do is watch one episode of Seinfeld, my mood shifts. 4, coffee with a friend. The mere act of sitting with a friend, an acquaintance, a colleague, and having a cup of coffee inspires me in different ways. It shifts my focus from unhelpful, from difficult, from sad thinking, because then I'm thinking about the person that I'm with. My focus shifts. Number 5, creating order out of chaos. Because I spend so many hours working, my office gets quite chaotic. Our home can get quite chaotic. And then I go, right, time to create order. And that creation of order, something that requires a bit of thinking, but is quite easy to do, gives great satisfaction and changes my mood. I love creating order out of chaos. So the rule is, to be able to be effective in living life on your terms, guard your thoughts. If your thoughts are wallowing in negativity, in darkness, in blackness, you need to shift them. Focus. shift your thoughts to your favorite things. And if you don't know what they are, this is the reminder to go and do a big long list of what those favorite things are. Another way to start that would be to do a list of what you are grateful for in your life in this moment. The Sound of Music not only has great music and inspiring words to that music, but also has some pretty profound messages. At the start of World War II about the Von Trapp family. And one of the key messages is the action by Captain Von Trapp in choosing to live by his principles rather than choosing the comfortable route of having his possessions, having his wonderful house in Austria and working for Nazi Germany, or sticking by his principles, and he's not going to buy into the anti-Semitism, and that's what he chose. That's a question that each one of us has to face. There's another big message that comes from the film, and that is to realize that life is so short. It goes by in a flash. The third big message is that each one of us has to work out what life means to each one of us. That's why the self-awareness and passion quest that I do is so important. So today's episode is a reminder of the key messages in that great movie, The Sound of Music, to remind you to live life on your terms. So the song, of course, is My Favorite Things from The Sound of Music. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favourite things, and some more. There's three verses, so it has three. I'll read the second verse. Cream-coloured ponies, strange one, and crisp apple strudels. I love apple strudels. Doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles. Certainly love schnitzel with noodles. Wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. No, that's not one of my favourite things. Next, girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes. No. Snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes. Yes, that's quite good. Silver white winters that melt into springs. Well, we don't have to worry about that so much in Australia, but those of you in other places of the world listening or watching this program, that might be your favourite things. Beautiful reminders. Work out your favourite things. The book this week is by Ellen Langer. Julie very cleverly bought this book, The Mindful Body. Very interesting on healing your body with your thoughts. Of course, ties into what this whole program is about: mind, body, spirit, and your health. Health, my definition of it, I talk about it in my TNT radio program. Health is the unique optimal balance for you of mental, physical, and spiritual elements. My spiritual tool today is to meditate, is to go to a quiet place and meditate on your life to date and what have been your favorite things in your life. My health tip today comes about through people having some upset stomach during the week, and that is to take charcoal tablets. Charcoal tablets are a wonderful absorber of impurities. If your stomach is a bit upset, take charcoal tablets. I have friends who take 2 charcoal tablets every day. It makes your bowel movements quite dark, but I take them whenever I'm crook, whenever I want my body to eliminate anything. It's fantastic. My quote this week ties into the uniqueness of your body. I've talked about that a lot in this show. And in this book, The Mindful Body, there's a quote by Leo Tolstoy that I found. No disease suffered by a live man can be known, for every living person has his own peculiarities and always has his own peculiar, personal, novel, complicated disease, unknown to medicine. Beautiful quote that reminds me of the uniqueness that is you, of 8 billion unique people, and this idea of standard protocols for healing a disease is really quite a nonsense, because nobody has your body. Great quote. No disease suffered by a live man can be known, for every living person has his own peculiarities and always has his own peculiar, personal, novel, complicated disease unknown to medicine, by Leo Tolstoy. Love it. And since we're talking about Sound of Music, I thought we should have some funny one-liners for a spot of humour. The thing about good music is it's technically sound. What genre of music sounds scary to a balloon? Pop music. Where do musical notes go surfing? On sound waves. And lastly, so my friend told me he works at a music store. Sounds fun. Some crazy music, one-liners just for a spot of humour. So remember, life was not meant to be taken too seriously. Use these resources in your lifelong journey to become ever more self-aware, to help you discover your passion, so that you have access to unlimited energy from your soul, because that's what passion is. It's a great way to live life. I invite you to subscribe to this show, either on Rumble, on YouTube, on podcast. Please share it. If you think it's worthwhile with your family, your friends, and your work colleagues, please visit our websites, covest.com and charlescovest.com. And charlescovest.com enables you to book a time with me to discuss your own self-awareness and passion quest. My first two books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are both available on each of those websites. Now, let's review some key happenings during the week. As I said at the top of the show, it's the Australia Day weekend. We have a public holiday on the 26th of January, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday became a long weekend. I love Australia. I'm so glad my parents chose to come to Australia as refugees from Hungary in 1949. This is a wonderful country, and I reject the attempts of a tiny minority to literally try to destroy Australia Day and label it as Invasion Day, when over 200 years ago in 1788, the first fleet arrived on the 26th of January. And to call it Invasion Day, when you look at all the benefits that have been added to this country, to the lives that people have been able to live in this country, including my family, I reject those attempts. I will fight to keep Australia Day as it is, and I am very questioning of the mainstream media focus on tiny minorities who want to destroy Australia Day. I ask the question, why does mainstream media give these minorities such airtime? You think about it. There's a hidden agenda going on here, everybody. Warren Mundine, famous Australian Aboriginal, he says the vast majority of Aboriginals have no desire to change Australia Day from the 26th of January. We are being sold a lie in the major metropolitan cities in this country. My guest this week on TNT Radio, and the beauty of TNT Radio is if you can't listen to it live at 7 p.m. on Sundays Melbourne time, all of the shows are recorded, so it literally becomes another podcast. My guest is Jeff Gamagami from New Zealand, born in America. He's got, I think it's an Iranian name. We're going to be talking about your DNA and using artificial intelligence to give you personalized health solutions, which ties in beautifully to the Leo Tolstoy quote that I shared with you. The Australian Open tennis finishes this weekend. The men's final is tonight. I don't know what the result is. The women, Arina Sabalenka won the title. She also won it last year. You know, I'm a fan of Novak Djokovic for a whole bunch of reasons, including his commitment to health for his body, his commitment to using hyperbaric oxygen. It's a wonderful tool for healing, for sports people to get back into their best condition. And I also honour him enormously for doing what Captain Von Trapp did, and that was to stick to his principles of not putting bioweapons into his body. He stuck to his principles and risked his tennis career by doing so. The other salutary point from these top tennis players is the size of their supporting teams. It's just a good reminder that no one ever does life on their own. We all have teams, and continuing to nurture and look after your team is a crucial way in which you are able to enjoy this game of life while we each face our own challenges, our own difficulties, our own fears, our own lack of confidence. Second last point, the Prime Minister of Australia, Anthony Albanese, has been lying, and he promised to the Australian people that promised tax changes would be implemented as legislated. Now he's changed that position, and now he's reframing it. See, this is the classic strategy of politicians. Just change the definition of words, just like they're trying to argue that man doesn't mean man and woman doesn't mean woman. These politicians almost invariably have such ill intent. It is breathtaking, and that the Prime Minister of this country lying and betraying the people, following the promises that he made to be elected, is salutary, is worth noting, and really comes back to I've done an article on this, the three big lies. The third big lie is, I'm from the government, I'm here to help you. Never believe politicians. And then lastly, Qantas, used to be one of the world's great airlines, has been totally trashed by the behaviour of its former CEO, Alan Joyce. And now the new CEO, Vanessa Hudson, is walking around. How are we going to rebuild this brand? I'll tell Qantas how to rebuild its brand. Re-employ all the people that the company sacked because of the bioweapons that were planned to be pumped into them. That's what Qantas has to do. And until it does that, it's living a lie. So anything that Qantas says cannot be believed. You might get that I'm a bit passionate about that. I am, because I'm helping pilots and other employees of airlines who lost their jobs because they didn't want these bioweapons injected into them. So, if you're new to the show, stick around. We'll go into some background about me so you get to know me a little bit more, and also the foundational principles for this show. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a wonderful week of ever-increasing self-awareness, of an ever-deepening ability to discover what you're passionate about. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show, here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Kovess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@kovess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.